Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
The WNBA is a complete and total failure. It is a cesspool. It is filled with childish, jealous, petty, jealous, entitled, insecure, narcissistic thugs who cannot play basketball. And that is why we have the physicality of the WNBA, because they have to cover up the fact that they have no skills. I won't even throw in the complete and total lack of emotional control from most of these players. It is an absolute joke. And then along comes Caitlin Clark, a woman who can play basketball, a woman who can play basketball almost like the men, a woman who is entertaining, a woman who is fun to watch, a woman who understands that it's entertainment and makes a connection with the fans, a woman who has skills that the league has never seen, a woman who has basketball IQ and vision that the league has never seen. I mean, I think people are right in terms of the degree of difficulty and accuracy. She's probably a better passer than she is a shooter. The insanity of her three-quarter, half-court, full-court passes, and I mean, we're talking like Pro Bowl level quarterbacks in the NFL, where if that ball is 2 inches to the left or right, it's incomplete or intercepted. That is the type of pass Caitlin Clark makes in the WNBA. But they can't have that. No, 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 folks. They can't have that. That shows up the entire league. They cannot allow this, yes, white, straight, nice, skilled, popular basketball player enter their league and expose the fact that they've never actually been able to play basketball the entire existence of the WNBA. Harsh? Too bad. If I'm wrong, why weren't you watching all these years? Let me ask you that. Why is last year the first million viewer game on TV since the only one in 2008? If it's so great, where have the fans been? Right. I love those interviews, usually talking about, pay disparity and stuff, interviews in the streets, and they bring up the WNBA and the pay gap and the gender thing. And of course they're all like, yeah, they should be paid like the men. What's the name of the team in your city? Our city has a team? Name one player in the WNBA. Of course, this was pre 2024, because now they all would just say Caitlin Clark, just like Paige Beckers was the answer to a trivia question on Jeopardy not that long ago. But of course, the person answered Caitlin Clark. You know, motion. It's a real thing. But in terms of the league, and of course the Fever is also getting the impact of this when Caitlin Clark plays, in that they all suffer from lack of calls as well. But this is I'm gonna go through some things and also talk about Caitlin's injury and so forth. But this is the problem with the league. Now, this of course is more targeted to the Indiana Fever now, but this is kind of what the league has been always. And you get stuff like this. Now, if you I'll roll it back again, but this is a purposeful assault on Sophie Cunningham. It's obvious when you watch it. These are players, both of them. This is a setup. This is a two-person job. That they should be thrown out of the game and they should be facing a lengthy suspension without pay. But I'm sure you'll be shocked to know that there wasn't even a call made. There was not even a foul call made. So here we go. That is an elbow. That is a purposeful elbow to the head. And then low, oh, I'm innocent, because you'll see the motion. Her teammate drove Sophie Cunningham into it, right? There's the push with the right arm, right? She hooks her, drives her into it. I'm gonna let's see if I can slow this down just a little bit. This one part really slow. Watch the right elbow of the player to Sophie's right. You're gonna tell me that's not on purpose, folks? Look down at the bottom of your screen. There's the referee looking right at it. There's Aaliyah Boston letting her know. Not even a foul call, let alone that is automatic. They didn't review that. For those who don't know, you see it more in the NBA, with the bigger players and the go actually getting off the ground to get rebounds. And as we were taught as kids too, when you get that rebound and you've got that ball above your head, you have your elbows out. You're not trying to hurt anyone. You have your elbows out, but it's called clearing space. Of course, nowadays they're so soft that even non-intentional elbows, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, are called fouls. But that's another issue. But I mean, I can run that back a little bit more for you if you want. But right there, you see her. The player drives Sophie into that. She sees her coming. She's looking at her, right? Her head's turned that way. Throws an elbow at Sophie Cunningham's head. The official is staring right at it. You can't miss that call, folks. And I don't believe, now I do believe a lot of the WNBA officials are completely unqualified. They're incompetent. They have their jobs for reasons other than being good at officiating. But no one can be that incompetent that you didn't see that and know that that is against the rules. So you chose not to call it. That says a lot about the type of people we're dealing with this league, right? Wait, let's see if we can check this out as well. Tina Charles, remember Tina Charles? You know, the one laughing about the assaults on Caitlin Clark that she was a part of against the Connecticut Sun. You remember her? So there you go. That's Tina Charles for you, folks. Oh, by the way, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember that even a foul was called there. Or maybe a regular foul and that they didn't redo it. But again, here we go. Petty, entitled, jealous, insecure thugs with no emotional control whatsoever. These are two players battling for position. Aaliyah Boston is trying to get into a position to receive the pass, does nothing out of the ordinary, but Tina Charles, thug, goon, no emotional control. She can't handle that, and that's what she does. That is absolutely disgusting. She should be out of the league. I am so sick of these players. And so we all know that you get this is what we've gotten now on a entirely new level with Caitlin Clark. This is also one of the reasons they can't stand Caitlin Clark is because this is how the league's always been, and this is what it's needed to be because they've never had skill. And now you bring in Caitlin Clark, and now we've got a whole bunch of eyes from people who like basketball, from people who know basketball, from people who want to watch and be entertained by basketball. And they're looking at this league and going, what the F is this? What is this garbage? Who are these nasty, unlikable players? Why do they suck so bad? Why are they always fighting? Can't they play basketball? It doesn't look like they can play basketball. What is going on? And then this is, let me see if I have the right one. But yeah, then the end of that game, you had Caitlin Clark tweak that groin again. I think this is right after it happened. So I got a couple things. Yeah, that's right after it happened. She knows that she's going down there. You can see that she's upset and a little bit of pain, and where she's holding it looks like the inside of the right groin that she's got going on right there. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting, folks. I don't know. You get injuries like that, and I tell you from experience of having them working with no teammates have had them when all that. It's one of those you just don't know things unless they come out and say something is like completely torn, requires surgery or whatever it is. You don't know. She could feel great in a couple of days and be playing great and feel fine for a couple of weeks, and then it gets tweaked again in some really not doing anything. Like I'm watching that play, it didn't seem like there was anything out of the ordinary in what happened or what she did that would cause it to be an issue there in terms of the pain. But I wanted to bring attention to one more thing because this is really, really important. This is why we talk about Caitlin Clark and we talk about the disgusting officiating. Kathy Engelbert, you need to spend some time behind bars at this point. You run a criminal organization, allegedly. Allegedly, I just made that up myself, but you know, from the outside, it's starting to look that way. But this is Caitlin Clark. For those who don't know what happened here, she was arguing. I believe the Dream challenged a call. Was it the Dream or was this the Connecticut Sun game? I think it was the Connecticut Sun game. They challenged the call after the next play was already started, which of course you cannot do. And you'll see Caitlin Clark calmly discussing that with the official, right? She's saying you can't do that. She's letting you know very calmly, saying, "Hey, those are the rules. You can't do that." Now keep watching right here. Pay attention. Look at this. Dude, she went absolutely. Now, there, what you have is a, oh man, you know, I'm sorry, I'm one of those, I don't condone, you know, knocking people around, but sometimes people need to be knocked around. This is an official who clearly needs to be knocked around. And here's the other point to that, too, that we'll talk about is when she went after him like that. I love this, too. She's like, what are you doing? Come here, you little child. Um, but It is very clear. Now, I'm going to go back to, I just want to run the beginning again. So you'll see it's very clear. You all see that she's very calm because of those people be like, oh, the way Caitlin Clark acts, she's very calm in this. She's having a conversation. This punk ass little biatch right here said something very nasty. And you cannot tell me in this televised game, WNBA, where's your investigation? You know that this is on a mic. What he said is on a mic. We need to hear it. He should never officiate a game again because you know he said something absolutely awful. One, you can see it in Caitlin Clark's changed demeanor because she was not worked up. She was being very calm. And he immediately walks away. This is a guy, let's be clear, this little punk right here said something incredibly nasty to a young woman and walked away from her. And how do we all know? Again, Caitlin Clark's reaction, but also don't forget this. He didn't tee her up for that reaction. So this is a dumbass who knows that he just effed up big time. He's aware enough to know that. And that's why he didn't tee her up. Because if he teed her up, then you absolutely know we would already know what he said to her. That's how bad it was. So again, very calmly saying, hey, you know what? That's not the rules, man. You messed up. You can't do that. That is not how it works. She's very calm and right there, right there. And then he walks away from her, completely dismisses her, acts like a little punk, and then walks away from her. That is the type of officiating we're getting in the WNBA. That is the type of behavior we're getting directed specifically toward Caitlin Clark in this cesspool of a trash league that needs to fold. That's where I'm at right now. I hope there is a lockout. I hope the players go it sucks for Caitlin Clark. Don't get me wrong. I want to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. But in the bigger scheme of the sport, the WNBA needs to cease to exist. They need a lockout. They need to fold because of lockout. We don't have enough players for 6 good teams in this league. And they're gonna in 5 years they're gonna have 18 teams. Are you absolutely nuts? That is absolutely crazy. And then of course this was at the end of the game after she tweaked it and she's on the bench. You can see she's absolutely completely distraught about what's going on. Now, look, anything we say here, we're all just speculating, right? We could say, look, I think it, but in that facial expression, just for me and with athletes and experience, and your guess is as good as mine, obviously, she's probably feeling a little bit of pain. Although it's probably one of those where it tweaked and then like maybe there's a little bit of pain when you're walking, but it's not that big a deal, but you know something's wrong. So it's probably more out of frustration that that it happened, that she felt that injury again. And it could be, especially again, you just had that situation with the referee I just showed you. You had the stuff going with Sophie and like it's just a whole lot of nasty stuff. To me, it's also partly she could be like, what am I dealing with in this league? Which I want to address. Final bit. I know it's got a little longer than I wanted, but I think this is important. I think we forget at times who Caitlin Clark is and what she is going through. And what I mean by that is this is a young woman who we see, and even before this, right? We say, oh, she's 23. She was doing this in college. The way she conducts herself both with the press and in public and in answering interview questions and how well spoken she is and how articulate she is, how she handles dealing with fans, how much she appreciates the fans, especially the young fans, and the other things that she does outside of it with charity. And like she is at the time even teenager who gets it in a way that many rich and famous people in entertainment or sports never do, right? That understanding of your place, and I mean that in the best of ways, not like, oh, you need to know your place, but an understanding of what you do, why you're able to do what you do, how it can impact people in a positive way, being appreciative of that, but also just how she handles questions, right? We've talked about that emotional maturity and like even the Kennedy Carter incident and, how she always said, oh, no, Dejanay Carrington, oh, it wasn't intentional. I've been poked in the eye. It was a basketball play. And so a little bit of that, and maybe I'm reading into it a little too much, but I think part of it there is maybe like, what is going on? And the point I'm making is Caitlin Clark, from all the looks of the outside, she grew up with a great support system with her family, right? She grew up playing sports. She should have played soccer, Caitlin. That's the sport you should have stuck with. You wouldn't be dealing with any of this crap. But that's done now. Although you're only 23, you're a great athlete. Maybe you can switch up. But, so she was surrounded by good people. She was surrounded by a good support system. She idealized what the WNBA was and the players in it from the outside. And so, yes, she is emotionally mature. She's articulate. She's smart and she's all that. But she's also a 23-year-old who has been sheltered. And I don't say that that's not a negative thing. I'm just saying in the way she grew up, again, great support system, goes to a 4-year school and all that. She does not yet get, because she's never had to deal with them, the evils of the world. And that is where we're at with the WNBA. And people say, oh, that word's over the top. But I'm sorry, what have you seen in the WNBA that you say it is not evil? And I'm going to leave you with one more thing, a few more things, but they're short. We're rolling. We're gonna finish. We're gonna finish up. But like this said, there's a lot of nastiness with the Caitlin injuries. They got to get out of that 3-point competition somehow. Anyway, these people are scumbags. But we also had this again, going back to the officiating nonsense, right? This is J.C. Sheldon. They're all watching. We got look at those two officials, both eye on the ball. Boom! That is a body check, folks. That is an absolute body check on Sophie Cunningham, forcing her out of bounds. And what do they call? They call Sophie Cunningham for going out of bounds. So that is what you have to deal with in the WNBA because, it's a physical league. But last thing I want to leave you with is Candace Wiggins. I brought up before Candace Wiggins, who has made claims. And by the way, I wonder if her book has been suppressed because I have not seen it come out. She should have had a book out by now, but she was very outspoken about how she was bullied out of the league for being straight and that the officials also had a lot to do with that. So it was a league wide thing. So it was top down, and I bring this up to equate it with Caitlin Clark in terms of the officiating and that this is purposeful, right? If we look at Candace Wiggins came into the league, she was sixth player of the year her rookie year, folks. 15.7 points per game. 3.2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.8 steals, right? She took 6.6 free throw attempts per game. That is, I don't know if that led the league at the time, but that is a big number. And she was a good free throw shooter, too. Okay. Next year, she averaged 13.1 points. She shot 4.4 free throws. 13.8 points the next year, 3.8 free throws. You know what they were the rest of her career? The next year, so she went from 6.6, folks, to 4.4 to 3.8. The next year, she averaged zero point 0.7 free throws a game. The next year, 1.1. Slight uptick the next year to 2.4, but then the next 2 years, 0.3 and 0.6. This is a lady who came in, got defensive player of the year, sixth player of the year, sorry. Had a phenomenal year. Inside player, 6.6 free throws, right? She would get to the bucket. It dwindled so rapidly to the point where she was averaging fewer than one free throw per game. It was clearly a concerted effort to get Candace Wiggins out of the WNBA, and it happened. And I see that face here from Caitlin Clark, and I just think that part of that is like, why? Obviously, with the injuries, well, why is this happening? But I'm wondering if she's having a moment with everything that's going on of why is all of this happening? I don't get it. Here you have from the outside, right? Like one of the nicest people I have seen in public, someone that we call famous, right? Athlete, entertainer, like by all accounts, one of the nicest people you will meet, who is getting the most disgusting, hateful, vitriolic attacks from an entire league that she has single-handedly put on the map. All of these players, everything they have is because of Caitlin Clark. Anyway, this got way, way long. For those of you that are still here, I apologize. Thanks for sticking with it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.